Hello, our community of innovators, creators, and dreamers. My name is Marie, and it is my honor to welcome you at opening of Hatathon 6.0 Culture and Technologies. I'm very happy to see so many talented people from Ukraine and other corners of Europe gathered around this project today. It is the best evidence that distance does not matter when we have joint effort. During next 10 days, this space will be the place for creation of new ideas and unexpected collaborations and brave projects. And before diving into this creativity whirlpool, I would like to express my gratitude for being here, for your energy, for your readiness to create changes together with us. By the way, our broadcast can be seen and can be watched on House of Europe pages on Facebook and YouTube in Ukrainian, and you can also find a separate stream in English on Facebook and YouTube of HATA Hub channels. So let's move to our presentations. What is Hatathon? Hatathon is an annual educational program and online edathon for projects on the crossroad of culture and technologies. This year, it is the sixth time that we have gathered innovators of cultural and technological spheres and one of the key events of Ukrainian sphere culture tech. Our participants are going to work on creating sustainable digital solutions for Ukrainian culture aimed at representing Ukrainian identity in the whole world. The history of Hatathon is a history of adaptation and resilience. Everything started during pandemic when the word hata or house became a symbol of the home where we were working. And today, in times of full-scale invasion, hata or home is the symbol of house that we are trying to maintain and protect. And cultural innovations will help us in that. This year, our mission is to unite Ukrainians from Ukraine and EU countries to create together digital solutions that will strengthen our voice in the world. Such large-scale projects are impossible without support. We would like to express our gratitude to our partners that believed in our mission and help us to enable this hackathon. Our project is being implemented with support of the European Union with Program House of Europe in cooperation with Goethe-Institut in Ukraine. Our informational partners. Today, here with us, we have partners that support culture, technologies, and startups in Ukraine and in the EU. Among them, we have state bodies that are forming policies and presenting Ukraine and the whole world. For example, Ministry of Culture and Strategic Communications and Ukrainian Institute. Platforms for startups and technologies such as Radar Tech, 1991 Accelerator, and Unity's Kyiv IT Cluster and Kharkiv IT Cluster. Educational projects as and platform as projectors and base IT. These are companies. Also, we have companies creating digital products and initiatives for creativity. Ukraine, for example, the Ukrainian Center of Cultural Research and Project Creative Europe. Together, they create ecosystems that support talents, innovations, and cultural projects. Media and community partners. We are really grateful to our media partners for their support because they help us spreading the information about Hackathon. Among them, Shotam, Yabel, FaceSpace, The Mango, WA. They are all news media that spread information about our event for creative and IT community. And we are also really grateful to relocate community of Ukrainians abroad. And of course, we shouldn't forget about our community partners that join together and support um, creativity. Ministry of Culture and Strategic Communications, FW Days Cooperative and Cultural Project. We are sincerely grateful to each and every one of you. This year, we once again gathered around this project lots of uh, creators and innovators, and it is very inspiring. Just look at our numbers. We have got more than 800 registrations, and we still have lots of applications. So that's why we prolonged collection of applications till 22nd of October. You still have 2 days to try and to register, but if you want to uh, start educational program because it's going to start tomorrow, please register already today. At the beginning of ETS, we already have more than 10 represented countries with their unique ideas. During the next 10 days, we hope that we will have lots of insights, lots of knowledge presented, and more than 100 mentors and experts from various spheres to help us in that. The general prize fund of Hackathon is €5,000 together with other prizes from partners. And the final of Hackathon will have 20 prizes from our partners today are versatile. We are going to present gift certificate for 30,000 revenue from cultural projects. The certificate will give the opportunity for 1 year of online training, and winners will be able to select any kind of program in their own format, maybe separate course with the catalog of educational platforms. Apart from that, our partner cooperative uh, is going to present for 6 teams, 7 certificates for 7 days of free visiting of a launch cooperative, Space cooperative in Kyiv, and the last gift is free participation in main course from RECE. It is relevant for creative and cultural entrepreneurs. Certificate from Stockholm School of Economics in Riga for 2 ECTS. These are 2 credits of European system of transfer and accumulating of credits. It equals 50, 60 hours of training and learning. And also all participants of Hatathon are going to get 20% discount for this same resource. And of course, your applications in semi-final and in final will be assessed by our expert jury, Olga Yurkova, head of the Department of Cross-Sectoral Programs in Ukrainian Institute, Anastasia Bondar, Deputy Head of Ministry of Culture and Strategic Communications, on digital development, digital transformation, and digitalization. Olena Onovna, Program Manager of Grant of International Cooperation and Cultural Infrastructure of the Project House of Europe. Inna Chud, co-founder of Squad, CEO, Lava Group. Irina Zabolotna, Deputy Head of the Director of Fund of Innovation Development, and Alexandra Kovalenko, Head of Partnership and Alliances Sigma Software. So, what is ahead for you? What is our plan for the next days? 10 days. Today, you're going to hear inspiring speeches from leading experts. On the 21st and the 22nd of October, today and the day after tomorrow, you're going to have 2 days of educational program. These will be practical workshops where you will get instruments, tools for market research, developing business model, creating roadmap, marketing, and of course, your ideal pitch. That I hope will lead you to the final. Participation is possible only if you are a participant, so please register and you will get all instructions for joining in our Slack. I would like to remind you that the registration is still open. We are waiting for you. 23rd, 26th of October, you're going to have work with mentors. This is your time for brainstorms, for uh, checking your hypothesis and for developing projects. And on October 26th at 3 p.m., according to Kyiv time, it's a very important deadline. It's a deadline for submitting a project to be reviewed in semi-final. It is extremely important to get everything on time and to submit application that will be in full compliance with those three conditions, those requirements that are described in participant guidelines. Till 28th of October, our experts jury is going to select the best ones and will invite 20 teams to take part in grand final in Kyiv on the 31st of October. We will meet each other offline there to hear pitches of 20 finalist teams and find out names of our winners. Behind the curtains of this event, we have the whole team working, and they put their hearts and energy into this project. So let me introduce our co-founders, two Anastasias. They are visionaries and strategists of our projects. Our two Natalias, project manager and community manager. They have been fruitfully working behind the curtains, organizing all the processes around this project. With Natalia Livosic, you'll probably communicate the most all this time, dear participants. Yaroslav is dealing with our mentors, jury, and local ambassadors in Europe. Tiana and Tatiana, our communication team, probably due to their work you have found out about our work. And I, Maria, I have gathered our educational program for you, speakers and jury members. We are here to help you at every stage. And now, this is the end of my presentation, and I would like to give the floor to the person whose vision and idea we got this project. She's the heart and engine of HATA Hub. Please meet Anastasia Sliptsova. She was launching, managing, and facilitating international projects and partnership, large-scale technological conferences, and also innovative events. She has more than 9 years of experience in innovative management and digitalization. During the last 4 years, Anastasia has been leading a joint initiative between Digitizing.Space and House of Europe, all Ukrainian innovative cultural Hatathon with this mission of uh, maintaining Ukrainian heritage. And the floor is yours. Well, everyone, it is our sixth time when we are opening this hackathon, but every time is like a first time. Every time is like a first time because we onboard people in Slack, we communicate with them, we answer lots of questions. We have got lots of questions for you on this last day. And it's a great pleasure for us because we have lots of new people joining us. We have people who have been with us all this time, mentors, move into teams, they become team leads and vice versa. People that were in teams become mentors for other teams. Very often we see in Slack how people who were with us, who have been with us all this time, already answer the questions of new participants. And we are really pleased to have this community that we have formed during this time. And once again, we managed to continue this project throughout all the tragedies, throughout all the problems that are happening with our country right now. We're extremely grateful to armed forces of Ukraine. Thanks to them, all of us can be here today, generate ideas, and protect our cultural heritage together when they are protecting us with their lives in the front lines. We're grateful to all the partners that Maria has already listed, but at the same time, we are extremely grateful to the support of new partners, those partners who have been with us all this time, strategic partners who believe in us. Every year we worry that we will not be able to have enough registrations, but every year you break all the records in these registrations. It means that this format, this mode is alive. It's interesting format. So with hackathons, we are testing our team sprint. And I would like to wish every success to all of you. It is an intensive work, in particular those 3 days from 23rd to the 26th, when you are going to be divided into teams working with mentors, working with team mentors, because during such educational program, you will have forming of the teams, you will have cooperation with speakers, with our community of managers. By the way, please, we have only one of her and only one, and almost 1,000 of you, so please take care of her, please behave properly. And also, I wish all of you inspiration in your work on developing the projects that maintain and strengthen our voice in Ukraine, in Europe, help us to preserve our identity, to talk about our identity, to reach new audiences, new people with the help of digital tools. I wish inspiration to all of you. Thank you, Anastasia. And let's read the next speaker. We are going to have Francisca Simon with us here, the head of House of Europe project, the MBA of Politology of French Language and Business Administration. During the 10 years, Francisca has been involved in such programs directed to work with European Union. Please, the floor is yours.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. And yeah, it's a real pleasure for me and honor to welcome you all to this Hatathon 2025, United by Culture, Powered by Tech. And as has already been said, it's the sixth time we gather in this remarkable community of creators and cultural managers and tech innovators, and to spend intense, inspiring days building the future of Ukrainian European culture. And as Anastasia just said, For me, it's actually the first time that I can speak live, because the last 2 years I was only able to record a video beforehand. So it's a real great for me now to be here on the first day, on the official opening, also online and live. So on behalf of House of Europe, we are incredibly proud to partner again with Digitizing.Space, and this partnership has grown throughout the years. And we started, as has already been mentioned, in 2020 during COVID times. So the first Hatathon was launched in 2020, 6 years ago. And back then the goal was also to support cultural and creative professionals in exploring digital tools, building collaborations during COVID times. But as we know, the time has dramatically changed since then, and Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 has deeply affected every part of life in Ukraine, and culture is of course no exception, and is explicitly targeted by Russia. And a lot of cultural institutions have been damaged or destroyed, people killed, displaced, cultural heritage stolen or destroyed. And yet, in the face of this violence and destruction, Ukrainian culture has not disappeared. It has shown extraordinary resilience, spoken louder, clearer, and than ever before. And one of the ways it has continued to thrive is through the Hatathon, I think, and the space that remains open and full of new ideas and possibilities. So I think this is why this Hatathon matters more than ever. And I'm very thrilled to hear that there are, if I heard well, 800 people joining us today, which is great. So it's not only about experimenting with technologies, it's about using digital tools to preserve, transform, and share culture, especially in times of war. It's about helping institutions, creators, audiences to stay connected, informed, and inspired, even under the most difficult conditions. But it's also about creating new and innovative things. So House of Europe is a project funded by the European Union, implemented by Goethe-Institut since 2019. And our aim is to support professionals in culture, in education, in media and youth, and to support Ukrainians access opportunities, build networks inside Ukraine and with the EU member states, and gain the skills they need to drive change in their communities. And in the current context, this mission has become even more urgent. And while Russia is trying to destroy Ukrainian culture and identity, you are all working against this. And with House of Europe, we are trying to support you, to continue your work, to save Ukrainian European cultural heritage, and also to make it visible and to develop new innovative ideas you can then also share with others, also especially in the EU member states. So over the next few days, this Hatathon will bring together a lot of people from across Ukraine, the EU, and especially also Ukrainians living in the EU member states. You will be working in teams, connecting ideas, prototyping new ways to experience, support culture, and you will be joined by mentors and experts, as has already been mentioned and presented. And what we know from the past years is that this energy and the outcomes during those days will carry far beyond these days. And the ideas born here or in the past hackathons, some of them have gone into real projects, platforms, tools, exhibitions, and more importantly, they have sparked new ways of thinking about culture in the digital age. And so I want to thank you all for showing up with your ideas, your time, and your engagement. And thank you once again, Digitizing.Space, for doing this together again this year. I also want to thank, of course, the delegation of the European Union to Ukraine, to our mentors, the jury, and to the incredible team behind the scenes, of course, who make this happen. And I wish you an inspiring and productive and joyful Hatathon. And I'm very much looking forward to the pitchings offline in Kiev on 31st of October. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Francisca. The next speaker, I would like to introduce the EU delegation representative, Diana Volsky, who is a project manager from EU Integration and Culture Department and National Minorities, Governance, and the Superiority of Law. And this is the representative of EU in Ukraine. Miss Diana, floor is yours.
Thank you. I hope that you can hear me well. I'm very happy to be here and welcome you together with the team to this edition of the Hatathon. As it was mentioned before, the European Union is supporting this online marathon by the House of Europe program and in partnership with the Goethe-Institut. I want to say a few additional words to describe the work that Ukraine and the European Union are doing in this context. Following the request of Ukraine to join the European Union, we have embarked together on a journey towards EU membership. On the one hand, Ukraine accelerated ongoing reforms and starting new ones in different fields to harmonize its standards and legislation with the ones of the European member states, of the EU's member states. On the other hand, the European Union contributes to this effort, supporting both the integration of Ukraine and its recovery, reconstruction, and modernization. Despite the extreme conditions that Ukraine is facing due to the Russian full-scale invasion, reforms are progressing. One of the fields in which we work together is culture. It is a key sector, especially considering Russian attempts to eradicate Ukraine as an independent state and erode the identity and culture of its people. Rebuilding communities, restoring a sense of belonging, revealing our history, exploring and bringing to the surface the Ukrainian rich and varied cultural heritage is a matter of perseverance. In this context, the intersection of culture, heritage, and technology, by blurring the lines between disciplines, exploring the possibilities that technology can offer to convey messages, to reach out to various audiences, to give them the chance to live new experiences, can make the difference. Storytelling, for instance, has a great potential to make the public dive into the variety of expression of the European culture by discovering or getting to know more about Ukraine. As I'm half Italian and half Polish, one example of storytelling that I cannot help but mention is The Witcher. It is a captivating video game developed based on an equally captivating novel by a Polish author. It contains many references to the Slavic folklore and culture in general, including elements of landscapes, architecture that are typical of Central and Eastern Europe. Throughout the narration, the player can also recognize or learn about the characters inspired by well-known novels of the Polish Romanticism. The video game brought all these elements to international audiences in other European countries and beyond, of course, as it sold over the 20 million copies. Audience expectations concerning technology and the media are changing, and so are the practices of arts creators and also curators. While, of course, we will continue to enjoy more traditional languages of art, it is fundamental to channel and promote the Ukrainian culture as part of the European cultural heritage, also through new communication modalities. That is what we want to contribute to today and in the next weeks. I hope that you will enjoy the many lectures and also workshops offered by the Hatathon, and I wish you the best of luck for the final selection. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Diana. So, all the partners have spoken up. And thank you all that indeed in this very event as hell is happening due to your support. And I'd like to now give the floor to our external speakers with the inspiring case study, the history of the team that is doing impeccable projects for the international audiences. So please meet Julia Solovey, the co-founder of Ukraine Hub. She was the head of the Department of Partnership of United 24 while engaging to the support of Ukraine Hollywood stars and the most important world brands. And under her guidance, there are big projects created from interactive exhibition of Ukraine now, wow, at the Central Railroad Station in Kiev up to the Pavilion of Ukraine at the UN conference on the climate change. So would like to would like to show you a small case study about that. So I guess we have some technical issues. Let us give a little bit of time for Julia, for her to fix her sound. Just literally a couple of seconds. And today we will hear several different speakers, and in all the honesty, we will have the representatives. Oh, okay, Julia, do you hear me loud and clear? Yes, yes, we do. Okay, great. Okay, if you hear me loud and clear, then that's a good sign. Let me then start. However, I don't know, but it knocked me out from Zoom where I was supposed to share my presentation. Let me try again. Okay, do you hear me loud and clear? So I guess your sound a little bit behind your screen. Okay, what I'm afraid of is that we still are not capable of listening to Julia because the internet is a little bit slowed down. Can you please assist us in terms of how to do next? Maybe we will give the floor to our next speaker. Okay, good, great. And while Julia is re-switching and checking her presentation, I would like to give the floor to one more speaker who will be representing EIT culture, who is Branislav Kershak, who is the manager on business development in EIT Culture and Creativity, who is a representative from Slovakia, where he focuses on building the strong partnership in Central and Eastern Ukraine, as well as to open up the innovative potential in design, immersive media, and cultural entrepreneurship. He has big experience in the creative ecosystem, sustainable tourism, and intersectoral cooperation. Okay, Mr. Branislav, do you hear us loud and clear? Do you see us? We are ready for your address, but we do not hear you. Okay, I guess we do not hear any interpretation. So unfortunately, the audio doesn't work from our speaker side. We are sorry for those technical issues. Things do happen when we have these kind of live streams. Can you please elaborate? Maybe Julia is back and she's okay with her sound, and we can start with her again. Okay, then good. So, dear viewers, we will ask you for a couple of minutes on technical pause to switch on one of the speakers, and we will come back to you literally in a minute. So, my greetings to you again. Sorry for those technical issues. However, we are returning back, and we have Julia online with us. Julia Holloway, the co-founder and partner uh, and the co-founder of Ukraine Creativity. Yes, I hear you loud and clear. I hope you can see me. Unfortunately, we have those issues here with the presentation shown on the screen, but I can do it without it. And I can tell you about Ukraine well, and I hope that you saw those cases that I will be talking about. If not, I will be trying to describe them in such a way for you to feel that you are sitting in the very first row and see everything. So what I would love to start with is a little bit of context how Ukraine WoW was created. The story of Ukraine WoW started in 2019 when we opened this very exhibition for the first time together with Ukrainian Railroad and who was our customer back at the time. The idea was easy. Back at the time, we had Ukraine Now brand, and if you imagine now as a word, so if we add just one more feature to n letter, it turns out to be wow. So the main idea of this very project was this: wow is a verb, and all of us with our mutual efforts, with our mutual actions, we're trying to do Ukrainian dignified for love and inspiration. Back then, the concept was easy. There was the traveling all over Ukraine as if you travel in Ukraine through the railroad, and Ukraine is your travel companion with who you have this very, very hearty conversation in the car ride. And Ukraine, wow, in 2019 and 2020 gained 2,300 visitors, and in 2020 it was closed just within one day because of the lockdown. Just in the moment we had to close the doors of the project, and for a long 5 years we have been waiting for those possibility to return to Ukraine. Wow. And this happened. And this time we decided to come back not only with this exhibition project, but also with NGO, whose purpose is, the way we formulate it is to wowasize Ukraine. That's a nice word that we created together with Eugene Tesenevich and Yaroslava, my partner, Yaroslava Grace. And this word seemed to us very pointy description of what we do. So we wanted to review the culture and inheritance, give it new senses, and to unite it with those top words and names, and to return it to the world context. And if one tells a little bit in the context within which we are working now, one has to realize it is a good interview, and I definitely recommend everyone to watch it and to read it. The interview with the director of Hermitage. This was done in the summer 2022, meaning that the full-fledged innovation is already ongoing, where he tells that there are those exhibitions abroad, but if you want to, some kind of special operation. And he tells literally that before the beginning of the special operation in Ukraine, the exhibitions of Ukraine were all over the world. And this was our cultural special operation, meaning that they directly told and targetedly told that while investing incredible resources and as the culture is a powerful weapon system, and they spend billions of dollars for the creation of the myth about Ukrainian great Russian culture, as Malevich as a great Russian painter. And how does it impact the people? There is this dimension of informational war where the fight is ongoing with a very robust and quick interventions as a change of information and informational operations, where the main channels of impact are media. And there is also the war of senses, where the impact goes primarily for the views, for the opinions, what people believe in. But in this very sense war fight and war, the main idea is the change of and the main ideas is are the main impact barriers are literature, theater, and so on. And it just happened this way that despite all the evil of Russia, we still continue to hear about that great Russian ballet, about those great Russian painters. And one has to do that. Russia used to call the best Ukrainian painters as theirs, and was trying to Russify them. And those who did not agree killed them. And now we have the chance to change it.
Because now, even more than ever, Ukraine is very powerful. It has very powerful sound on international platforms. So we need to be reduce resourcefulness. We need to be resourceful to ruin, to destroy everything that has been created by Russia, all these messes that they have created during very long period of time. There is this amazing quote from interview of Pavlo Markov when he is saying that every time we have the war is going on, the culture is not relevant, but that's why we have this war, because for 30 years the culture was not relevant. If during all this time Europe was feeling that we are part of it, if they read our books, if they listened to our music, they would not protect Ukraine, but they would protect something of their own. As an example, they remember this fire in Notre Dame. There was this feeling as if part of you is ruined with this fire, and this idea really resonates in me because during this time of working in United 2024, during this time we understood that the key thing is to start building much stronger, much more emotional connections with people, to have this feeling of correlations. And actually, when we started forming this idea of Endure Ukraine Vow, we wanted to highlight historic connections of Ukraine with the world, and we wanted to create new ones in cooperation with leading Ukrainian and foreign artists. there is also amazing formula. I love mentioning it. In English, it sounds like reinforce heritage and craft the future. So you're basically bringing strengths back, reinforcing the heritage and building the future. So this is that's what we dedicated our exhibition to, Ukraine Wow exhibition, where we are saying that strengths can be taken from our past to create our present and to build future of our country. A little bit more about the context of Russia. They still keep on doing, for example, Russian seasons. It is almost more than 100 of years of Russian seasons that Diaghilev used to start. They, in previous years, they took place in Brazil in 2022. The Russian seasons were, the budget for Russian seasons were directed to creating projects about Russian culture and temporarily occupied territories. In Melitopol, they opened huge museum, Russia My History, multimedia historic park, where Duchess Olga is looking at you and she's telling about being a single nation. And every time when it seems to me that I'm ready to give up, I reread the news. I try to see what I see what Russia is doing, and I find energy and just to move on once again very fast. So let me get back to the topic of NGO. We launched previous year with the case when Alexander Usek had Mazeppa sword, and when he raised this Mazeppa sword after uh, winning at Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Winning over Tyson Fury, and that is the example of that project that we want to work with. On the one hand, it combined this work with heritage, but in modern context, it also has a very important message that Ukraine is about victory and it's about arms and about weapons. It is this story that dates back to very ancient times. It is the story of the leaders that so many years ago was fighting against Russian, also in a way, Russian invaders for the idea of single strong Ukraine. So it is also this context of the sword as such, because it is a symbol that unites the tradition of European, and most probably it was created in Istanbul. It was coined in Istanbul. So this tradition, it still unites this. Still, it still has this tradition, and it's also Saudi Arabia because there on the we also have sword at the flag of the country. It's interesting to talk a little bit more about details that we have such agreement that Alexander can raise the sword only in case of his victory. We, of course, had. I would like to say that till the very last moment, we didn't know whether it would happen or not. So till the very last moment, we were fighting for getting permission because we needed permission from more than two, actually three ministries. It was Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Culture, Ukrainian Ministry of Culture of Saudi Arabia, and their Ministry of Sport, because the event was taking place at the sport arena. And it was for the first time in history when at the box rink we had museum artifacts and swords. So actually we were creating and were looking for the opportunities relying on existing all possible draft laws with legislative acts. So we tried to organize this project. And after we overcame all these barriers, even after that, we did not know whether we would be able to do that or not because we did not know whether Alexander would win or not. And even after that victory, we had long, eternally long 9 minutes until that sword appeared on the ring, and we were close with the yes, and we texted each other. Probably the sword is not allowed. Probably something went wrong, but still it appeared there. They remember this moment when it actually appeared there, and Alexander was showing the sword, and some people he had this post that Usyk rewrote history today because Russia was blasphemizing the name of Mazeppa for many years, was doing everything to make him a traitor. But actually, he's a prominent figure. By the way, he is very popular in Western European culture because Byron was writing about him. Walter and Ferenc Liszt also has symphonic poem Mazeppa. So actually, it was this moment of rewriting the history when Mazeppa finally becomes the symbol of victory. And after that, Mazeppa's sword, it was the first exhibit in the history of the independent Ukraine museum exhibit that was presented in the heart of London in one of the most famous museum, London Tower, White Tower, close to the weapons of kings of Great Britain. So it was great honor for us, and it is an example of how such projects can work. Uh, the request for Quiz Mazeppa was 8,000 times bigger after this event. So we are talking about how such unexpected, seemingly unexpected ideas can turn into telling the story of our country. And one more case that I would like to mention about today is Buravita Restoration Museum that was created by monumentalist artists that was ruined in 2022. And our idea here is that Russia can ruin our heritage, but it cannot ruin that fact that we are still going to inherit all of this. And we have actually gathered fantastic team of artists. It is the Tyrka um, Foundation of Alahorska Rosatka. They believed in the story to restore this Pano, this mosaic to the smallest detail. But the only thing that have changed that it consists of 608 puzzles, and we can gather this construction very fast, and it can go around the world. So it already visited Trafalgar Square in London, Kharkiv subway station, Rynok Square in Lviv, and now it is being exhibited at Ukraine. Wow! So yes, it is one more example of working with our heritage. The project Primachenko that actually rethinks is being rethought by New York artist Choza. They are very famous for their Coachella installations and projects of Hermé, and they are absolutely in love with this. Once again, looking for potential cooperation, we do our homework and we, of course, research who we address and we think what idea can be interesting for them, and after that we form pitch that is very concise, that is very prompt, but at the same time it's working with what is close to them, what is relevant for our potential partners, and that's why we have such interesting projects. It seems to me that I'm running out of my time, so I'm going to wrap up. Now we have once again opened Ukraine Wow. It has returned to the very same place. It gathered fantastic team around itself, and this project has united various people, starting from Serhiy Plokhy and Yaroslav Haradsak, finishing with Vasil Baidak and Nicolas Karma, to create the project for very wide audience. The project that I believe gives this feeling to everyone that we are very rich, that maybe through Holodomor assimilations, deportations, lots of us, because of this, lots of us lost our family heritage. But that's why our joint heritage is so, our common heritage is so important, what we all share. And this project is about it. And I think that people get out from this project with, and they feel stronger, they feel prouder, and they have this experience of happiness of being Ukrainians, because we really lack this experience of happiness that we are Ukrainians, because we feel the we feel this value. We know that we pay big price for that, but we wanted to give people more inspiration. And this is probably my last opinion here. But it is extremely important to select your optics. Imagine that you're a producer talking about Ukraine, and it will be whether it will be a blockbuster or family movie, something very niche. very, I don't know, independent movie, whether it will be thriller or melodrama. And at certain point with melodrama, with Yasa, we found this object that is called wow. We are looking for something that can amaze, and we are absolutely aware of the fact that this is our territory and we're working here. It resonates in us. And each of the speakers today also have their own optics. Salim Aliyev, that is also going to speak today, he has his own optics, and he can talk better than anyone about Crimea. It is his superpower. So probably the last thing that I would like to mention is that I would like to remind you that wow is a verb. This is something we believe in. Ukraine wow because so we make it like that. And I would like to wish all of you that this hackathon, that this project ins can inspire you, can give you the feeling of strength to create our present and our future, because this is our time. Our time has come to take this baton and to make our country the one that can be loved and amaze everyone. Thank you, Julia. Thank you. I even had goosebumps at certain points. So I'm really grateful for sharing your experience, and personally, subjectively, I'm really grateful for those senses that you're carrying and for topics that you're working with. Thank you. Please keep on doing what you're doing. We are going to be your fans in each of these projects. And now, finally, we can listen to Bronislav Krzyzak, Manager on Business Development and IT, Culture and Creativity, Mr. Bronislav. We are ready. I hope that you're ready as well.
Yeah, I am. Hello, everybody. Do you hear me? Finally. Yeah, perfect. Hi, I am Branislav. I am Business Development Manager at EIT Culture and Creativity, which is based in Košice in Slovakia, very near to Ukraine borders. We are a regional hub covering 8 countries of Central and Eastern Europe, including Ukraine. I'm here to show you that the European innovation system is not only about deep tech or engineering, it's also about culture, creativity, and people with vision like you. I will show you some numbers why culture and creativity matters. Over 8 million people in Europe work in creative sectors. Cultural and creative sectors and industries, we call them CCSI, represents 4% of the EU total added value. It's similar to automotive industry. And 99% of these entities are SMEs and startups, people like you here. And what is our perspective, why we do our work, why culture and creativity matters? Now we are living in the most creative decades of our lifetime. For example, AI is changing storytelling, fashion design, architecture, game development. Immersive experiences, spatial computing, and digital twins are reshaping how we engage with heritage and tourism. And that are the reasons why creative economy is becoming one of the most or Europe fastest growing job markets. And what is our challenge is that we want to help people like you to turn cultural passion into scalable innovation, to help you to build startups that are not only for making money, but startups that make difference. Okay, let's say shortly what is EIT, Culture and Creativity. We are an EU-backed institutional partnership created in 2023 as a part of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. That means EIT. Works, okay. This is our team, our director, Michal Hladký, a very known person in culture and creativity. For example, in city of Košice, he brings title of the European capital of culture, and it helps our city so much to be so beautiful city like today it is. We are one of the 9 EIT knowledge and innovation communities, like climate, digital, health, and others. And our mission is simple but ambitious: to empower Europeans, cultural and creative sectors to become more innovative, competitive, and sustainable. This is an important word at the end of the sentence, while help the sector creating meaningful jobs. We believe that culture is not the luxury, like was said before. It's the core of infrastructure for social resilience and growth. We are trying to turn culture and creativity into drivers of economic growth, social cohesion, and green transformation. As I said, we are located in Košice. It's very close to, for example, Užhorod. It's about 1 hour without waiting at borders. We already have more than 32 core partners from business, academia and culture, digital community, and overall we have already 1,400 members across Europe. This is a very important number because I will talk about networking in future slides. And this means that we are a really network of people from CCIC. Here is a QR code. You can find all the necessary informations. And I will show you how to become a member. But before I will talk about our services we provide to CCI sector. We have, I will move. This will I miss because we have only 15 minutes. And I will go directly to priority areas. We have 5 priority areas. We focus on fashion, on architecture. We focus on theme of today, cultural heritage, audiovisual and media, and gaming. We are looking for innovation in these areas, and this word is very important, innovators, because we are looking for innovations. All these areas benefit from the fusion of technology, creativity, and social impact. That's the reason why they are chosen. What we do? We do education, we do business creation, we do innovations and social transformation. I will just show you basic slides about these things, but I will go to support for startups because my time is running. And I can send this presentation to anybody who is interested. And let's go to the startup support. EITCC is supporting entrepreneurs through every stage of growth, from idea to international scaling. First, as you can see, is a Spark incubator, helping startups to go from idea to prototype, proper for early stage innovations. There is I think, not small financial support up to €5,000. Startups can expect mentorship and European exposure, experts from the fields. Second tool is Shape Accelerator, sustainable to fine-tuning business models and growth. Startups can expect support in market validation and investment readiness. Next tool is Scale Post Accelerator for scale-ups with proven traction and international ambitions. And what is very interesting, they can find there access to venture capital and impact investors through European Investment Network. We also have, it's possible to see here, some special box, or how to say it, 100 to watch, where are VCs prepared for concrete type of innovations. Okay. How you can join us? Every Ukrainian startup or organization can join our ecosystem through this QR code. There are various types of memberships, from free to paid. We have associated members, community participants, cooperation partners, and core partners. I will not speak about it. Everything is written under this QR code. And what I want to say at the end, Ukraine is one of the key partners for EIT Culture and Creativity. We have nice cooperation, as I'm here today, with HATA Hub. You have beautiful, I'm really impressed cultural ecosystem. And we will really like to help you with innovation in this field. Ukraine is a rich country in cultural heritage, and it will be my pleasure to help with innovation in this field. Just last sentence, culture and creativity are not a luxury. They are European engine of innovation with a human face, where we combine culture with technology, as you do at this hackathon. We can create a future that is not only smart, but also deeply human. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you for your address. Thank you for elaborating a little bit about the possibilities in Europe and directly in your organizations. And we are moving on. So the next speaker will tell us about culture and identity as a baseline of national security. This is Natalia Kryvda, the professor of Kyiv National University, the director of MBA Edinburgh Business School, the head of supervisory board of Ukrainian Cultural Fund, the current modern Ukrainian philosopher, intellectual worker. Her interest in the history of culture, mythology, the problems of identity, and cultural memory. At the same time, Ms. Natalia is actively studying and teaching modern leadership. Natalia, I guess floor is yours. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can see and hear me loud and clear. I am happy to reach you all. I understand that I'm limited in time, but I will try to tell and elaborate to you about national culture as a key factor of national security. The culture is not a freeloader. I completely agree with a colleague. It's not about something decorative. It's not about what is at the very margins of our life. It's not something that decorates us. It's not the entertainment. Culture is that very environment, that very system within which we exist as a human society. I am the doctor of philosophy scientist. I am the professor in the Ukrainian National University named Anton Shevchenko, the head of Ukrainian Cultural Fund. And by the way, this is a volunteering position I have. And for me, that's an attempt to combine my theoretical views and ideas and my academic activity with the real practical work. I am deeply convinced that I realize why we have to deal with culture, with art, and the answer to this question will help us in our existential fight. I'm sorry that there is too much text on the slide, but I want you to read it. The June 2024, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe accepts the resolution, again, not us, but the Parliament Assembly of EU, where it is written down that the annihilation and killing of Ukrainian national identity is the key reason of the war. Not territories, not the fossil, not the mineral resources, not native bases, not people who talk Russian language or any other language, but the erasing of national identity. Again, I would like to emphasize it one more time. When we tell and talk about Ukrainian national identity, we talk about the identity of political nation. Correspondingly, this very nation is a nation of Crimean Tatars, Jews, Gagauzes, Moldovans, and Ukrainians who live on this territory. It doesn't mean that we are annihilating any national cultures. On the contrary, we are reinforcing civil presence through ethnical national cultures. The January 2025, another Parliamentary Assembly of European Council, another resolution where it is written down that the dislining of history, the ownership of cultural historical discourse, Russian Federation is trying to hide. This is what Russia is trying to hide by its invasion into Ukraine. What I want to emphasize is for you all to physically, with your own hearts, to feel the the excuse for the aggression by means of culture, the excuse of their own evil actions through the decline of national identity. And it seems to me that this very optics has to completely reformat our personal and professional corporate attitude and the whole national attitude towards the idea of the development of culture, its support, and towards the idea of practicing the identity. I really love this term, and I use it very much in my activity. Identity not as a construct, not as something abstract philosophical construct, but as a guideline through which we are practicing our existence in this world. So, what are our limits? Where do we cross the line from personal professional interest, cultural projects, the creation of cultural and art, educational content, and where do we switch this path from the personal interest to corporate responsibility, and finally to the responsibility of on a state level? A brief narrative about what identity is, and I've been telling this many times. Okay, sorry for this. Okay, good. And so I've been telling this many times, dear colleagues. If you have heard it, I'm sorry, but I will allow myself to repeat it again. What I rely on in this very case is the professor of London University, Anthony Smith. When we talk about individual identity, this is the diversity of me, my attachment to this territory, my social and economical status, my belonging to some sex or to some social gender. Obviously, that this is my cultural identity. I am the bearer of values, traditions. I am the product and the subject of the manufacturing of this national ethnical values. But Anthony Smith tells that the top mark and benchmark is a national identity when a human being switches into the level of social realization of themselves, who we are, not only who am I, but who we are. And Anthony Smith offers us the working hypothesis. I really love it. I would like to share it with you. He tells that identity can be formed through blood, and then this is ethnical identity of a person who belongs to some community, who feels his or her sistership or brotherhood with other people. We are of the same blood. We are sisters and brothers. We have our joint past. We have our joint roots. We have language, tradition, costumes, clothes. We feel our jointness, even if we, due to this or that circumstances, abandon our place of strength and our motherland. He writes down that the idea of this identity, a human being is carrying in his blood, her blood, even outside of his community. While the second path is the following. Anthony Smith is not saying that this is good or bad, progressive or regressive. He tells about methodology. The second path is of identity through the values, he thinks that this very type of identity is typical for the West European way of self-realization, while ethnical or non-Western identity is typical for Central and Eastern Europe and the Southern and Eastern Asia. So what does it mean, the Western model of identity? Is when we build our jointness, when we identify our jointness, and when we realize that we are who we are through belonging to some kind of system of values, through the fact that we share with others the joint understanding of these values. I'm sure that our audience is quite well prepared for this. That's why let me remind you that in Ukraine we have a law on national and civilian identity. It will be still reviewed. It's a great thing that we have it. It is even better that we have a possibility to review it, to make it more modern. And there are identified values that, from the point of view of the authors of the law, are typical for Ukrainian political nation. I have very cautious questions to this set of values. I would recommend to look at the European set. Do not be afraid of this kind of optics. Do not be afraid of working within the big framework. A big European framework, and we are European culture, and I will not be tired to tell it. It's not that we have to go to Europe. We are Europe. Our values, our cultural history, our cultural practices, our day-to-day culture, the formats of our existence, of the high and low cultures, everything is European. And so, again, it's not good, it's not bad. This is a result of our development and processes. So the list of these European values that I so much am looking forward, but otherwise that we have to revise a little bit. But right now it looks quite attractive. Dignity, freedom, democracy, solidarity, human rights, and the superiority of law. It seems to me if we look at these values, they have to resonate with our understanding. I would also allow myself to set forward a question. How do you think, how our Ukrainian national identity is being formed? I really know that we don't have this possibility to write down in the chat, but I urge you to think at least and give the answer to yourself. By what means and what path do we go through? Through the blood, through national costumes, through national cuisine, through national traditions, through celebration, through annual cycle of memorable data that are attached to this or that religious calendar, and so on, or the traditions or myths that are coded in our rituals, or do we take the path of values, or do we practice and believe in dignity, freedom, democracy, solidarity, human rights? I very often put forward this question to the majority of my audiences, and the biggest amount of people come down to the idea that Ukrainian national identity has been formulated at the very intersection of these two. It is very much important for us to understand our ethnicity, Crimean Tatars or Ukrainian, Jewish or the culture of Gagauzes that were under the pressure, profanation, and annihilation during Russian history, the history of Russian Empire, Soviet Empire, and the restoration of this just approach is extremely needed these days. But at the same time, we are quite cautious and we realize that those values and those philosophical categories of dignity, freedom, democracy, and solidarity are embodied in our day-to-day practice, are embodied in that ways of activities, and in literally those cultural practices at the expense of which we live and that become the compass and the navigation board in our history, from the revolution of dignity up to solidarity of our volunteers. Think about it. Think about it, how it seems those cold philosophical values are embodied in our day-to-day life, including our professional life, including our corporate life. I will also try to share with you one more very good definition. Take into account that we are present time. The national and cultural identities are the perception of ourselves as a human beings, the representatives of some national or cultural space. And what is important for me is that this very construct can change. A human can change himself or herself according to this set example. We can recover in ourselves those annihilated, tortured, or consciously forgotten links, values, and behavioral patterns that were killed in us. Is national identity constructed? Yes, yes, included. And also, we have those instruments of practicing the identity and constructing the identity. And Hatathon, the way I take it within my professional logic, is designed to find those bright instruments and to do such a big, impactful project that will be able to show in a very dignified, not only in an arrogant way, but in a very dignified way to show the attractiveness, impact, the importance of all these practices of identity. It's a really complicated topic. I'm quite cautious about that. I know that our enemies can call it as a nationalism as a guideline and tell that cherishing of your identity means the way to nationalism. No, no, and again, no, because we are talking here about identity as a political, the identity of a Ukrainian nation as a political nation that consciously designed and continued to design this capacity and ability to live together, the idea of working together with the representatives of different ethnical communities. I would like to also introduce you within that minute I have remaining with the impeccable professor of University of Oxford, it seems to me. Let me also Mazarat Gibernau, who tells she's acting professor, and all her articles right now are in the internet. You can read them, you can get familiarized with them. But she tells that there is no general strategy of building the identity. It always depends on the circumstances, on the previous history, on what tools are present here, on political will, or from the policy of existence or forgetting. But she tells that there are a couple of successful strategies. So look, the first thing that she recalls is a targeted forming of the one joint image of a nation. As a targeted formulating of this such an image of a nation that will be acceptable. And again, let me emphasize this very word, acceptable, the idea of a nation that is acceptable for different ethnical, national, religious, political, social, and other groups. This is quite a complicated work, but the creation of the joint grand narrative, the creation of such a history of ourselves that will be acceptable for the citizens of this country is extremely important. The second thing she tells, Ms. Gibernau tells, is the creation of those symbols and rituals within which you are reinforcing our cohesion, would give us this very idea of belonging. The flag, anthem, everything that is on the very surface. But say, for example, the minute of silence, or say memorialization and joint rituals on commemoration, or say the holidays that we use and that we celebrate, that, or say the data that create this very fabric of our memory, the fabric of our joint being, and what we celebrate all together, and where we all together are grieving, and what kind of torches we recall, and how we take us as a nation of winners and not the nation of victims.
Civil policy. I will be and I want to be a loyal citizen when my country is respected, when when my rights are protected. I am absolutely ready to stick to my responsibilities to nation and to the state. These are different things. I am aware of that. I use terms with caution, but I am ready to meet and to perform my responsibilities, but I also want state and my community also to do the same, to have equal rights and rights preservation. It is one of the foundations, one of the backbones to have equal responsibility. It is a very powerful way towards forming identity. And finally, the presence of common uh, enemies, dramatically, tragically, but of course our enemy managed to strengthen our national identity more than anyone. Sociological research says that in June of 2022, 94% of citizens of Ukraine were very proud of being citizens of Ukraine, not because they are Ukrainians, Jews, or Crimean Tatars. They were proud to be citizens of Ukraine. So join enemies. Unfortunately, that's a tragic factor of making the identity stronger and developing it. I would like to remind you that in the previous slide we have this information that we have tools that we can transform, that we can reinvent ourselves, reinvent the nation, and it is absolutely creative way we have to do that. And finally, the last thing that Marsarat now was talking about, the system of national education, one voice policy from kindergarten to post-university education, postgraduate education. Very often I hear criticism because of this fact that I'm talking about joint narratives, about through and through position, but we either want to be maintained as a state or as a nation, or we do not develop the joint valuable network. We do not practice this identity. It seems to me that today it is absolutely crucial. Yes, maintaining democratic ways, but working on a joint idea. Maybe such ideas of Monserrat now will be practically useful for you when you are choosing the project and what you might choose as valuable framework. And I would like to give you a short example, and I will be very happy if organizers tell me how many minutes I still have, because I am a little bit lost in time. I would like to provide you this example on how we can work with our identity, how we can read ourselves. We are all irritated probably by this name Malorossia, Little Russia. We are all irritated by this superior seed that is put into this depreciating seed. Little Russia in comparison with big Russia. That's how we unfortunately have been called by the representatives of big empire nation, and now we representatives of big Russian culture often talk about us in this way. We need to understand where we get this term from. We need to be able to unpack, to know how to unpack correct senses. After falling of Kiev in 2040, yes, we start from a very long time ago. One metropolitan comes not to Kyiv, but he comes to Volodymyr and Klaizma. At the beginning, Kyiv representatives were Volodymyr and Klaizma, then they moved to Moscow, and they still kept on being called Kyiv metropolites and called Russia, because metropoly is the same. Kyiv metropoly, it was the hearse of culture, the uh, territory from which enlightenment started with. The territory, the city, first and foremost, Kyiv and the Kyiv lands, that where Christianity started its development and its spreading from the point of view of Constantinople Patriarchy. But Moscow was working through intrigues and bribery, and that's how they created Moscow metropolitan. And now it will be called Moscow, not Kyiv metropolitan. And but this Kyiv did not go anywhere; it still remained. So, and then Natalia Yakovenko mentioned that at that time to differentiate between the old Kyiv and new self-announced Moscow metropolitan. They got Micro Russia and Megalo Russia. Let me remind you that Constantinople Patriarchy was a Greek one, and for him it was understandable that it was this primary political body, Greek Greece. Everything started from there, Athens and Peloponnes, and from this core, from the small Greece, the light was spread. And but actually, if you this colonial development, colonial influence in big Greece was developed. Big territories were about under the influence of small Greece, and these once again are relations of the core and the territories that is being influenced on. And in Constantinople, the Patriarchy of course offered to use the same terminology, Micro Russia or Small Russia, and Kiev Patriarchy, from which the unity starts: religion, education, enlightenment, philosophy, everything starts from this. And these territories which the rays of our light started shining. The same will be with small Poland and big Poland, small Greece and big Greece. But see how differently it was interpreted in empire sources. Empire was using this term small Russia, little Russia to destroy us, to link us, to connect us, to have this complex of being not enough, and I want to wish all of you, for example, Lublin Unia, I know that I'm lagging behind, but still, could you please take a look at this text? There is a link under this presentation for this text or any other text of Natalia Starchenko, professor in history. Natalia Starchenko describes what do we mean by Lublin privileges. We were included in Breach Pospolita, and we signed the union with the Lithuanians and the Polish people on our conditions that we need to have integrity of borders, preserving of rights, preserving of equal rights of Catholic and Orthodox Church, our own language and our own army. Think about that. In 1569, we were included not as some kind of small brother, and we were led to this union, and we were united by Lithuanians as all Russian and part of Ukrainians. Even manuals were writing about this. No, equal among equals. How it's written there? Well, you need to read it in Starchenko's works. Independent among independent, free among free. Well, I don't already remember it very clearly because I'm talking very fast. It is important to reread our history, to reread our culture, to write it in a new way, to look at frescoes and to understand that the tomb on is building itself on the same level as Volodymyr. He was definitely feeling as ancestor of the previous history, not 34 or 35 years of Ukrainian independence, but recovery of Ukrainian independence. Khmelnytsky was writing that we will return Cossacks' glory. He knew that he would be able to take it back with the sword. Khmelnytsky felt as a descendant of previous uh, philosophical and religious tradition. Why do we need to give away our history to someone else? We need to read it correctly. We need to have projects that bring us closer to forming of this continuity of cultural tradition, a state tradition. We are not stateless nation, even though I used to use the same term. It's just we our state was in different formats. Let's look at concept of state creation. We are focused on Khmelnytsky, but let's look at Mazapa. He was very different. He was offering her a different civilization vector. These are statements from the article of Oksana Paklovska, amazing article, the old one of 2009, but it was not noticed properly. If we read it properly at that time, we will be looking at our future today through different lenses. Uh, we took different ways of civilization, and it happened a long time ago. Our task is now to build our identity, to build our national culture, not as ethnical culture, but as the culture both ethnical, multinational, and valuable. I would like to remind you that Cultural memory consists of communicative component. It's memory of 3 or 4 generations. So if you create a project dedicated to the story, to the history of your city, of your family, of your specific cultural institution or fight or icon or book, amazing. But remember that we have this cultural component as well. And here is selected what is possible. So that's why it's extremely important task for all of those creating cultural projects to maintain this binary optics, what is really alive today and what can be a part, a brick, an impact project of our long-lasting memory, cultural memory. Cultural memory is getting back to us according to the needs and requirements of our modern life. So, borders of our responsibility are informing our own historical myths in unpacking real content and forming attractive, emotionally strong, and powerful projects that are about us. They are about each specific person and about us as community. We need to practice this identity. We need to promote values and ethical forms. Let's remember that today we do not have information war. Information war already exists. Its existence. Today we have semantic wars, or even more so, semantic war, central war. And on the field of senses, we have to win. Our projects have to be about senses first and foremost. To omit politicization of history, politicization of culture, uh, I would like to suggest you reading these books. Yes, I do believe that academic science is still the most powerful tool. To read long and difficult texts is important because it's about us. It's this foundation, value framework that has to be in your actual work today. I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity to talk to you today. I don't know whether it was useful for you or not, but I'm ready to share this presentation and I'm ready to be part of those, I don't know, projects that you are implementing today. Thank you, dear friends. If you have any questions, I am ready to take them, or maybe I can answer them in some different mode. I wish you all and every success. Everything will be Ukraine, Ukraine of Ukrainians, Jews, Crimean Tatars, Bulgarians, and other citizens of Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, Natalia. I'm absolutely sure that it was more than useful for all our audience and that all our participants. Thank you once again for supporting this project, for coming to us as a speaker. We are extremely pleased to listen to your speeches every time. Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, and then after that we're going to have small Q&A session with co-founder, and after that we will be wrapping up the stream. So far, we will be talking about soft power, how cultural projects become voice of Ukraine in the whole world. Our speaker, Alim Aliyev, the deputy head of CEO of Ukrainian Institute, speaker, journalist, right protector, curator of cultural projects, member of the board of International Renaissance Foundation, member of Ukrainian PAN, founder of Ukrainian Project Crimea Inspir, founder of Crimea SOS, a founder of a Digital Museum of Crimean Tatars. His activity is focused on representing of international representation of modern Ukrainian culture and Crimea occupation. Ms. Alim, the floor is yours. Good evening. I'm very happy to be once again for the second time actually at this amazing event as Hatathon. And today we are going to talk. It seems to me it's very logical after such absolutely contextual lecture of Natalia Krivda, where we are talking about how culture is important and that culture is finally perceived not as something on the background, not as something absolutely secondary, but culture, well, actually, as education is a part of national security. And today we are going to talk how cultural projects become voice of Ukraine in the world. And before talking about how Ukrainian diplomacy is working abroad today, I would like to talk a little bit about cultural diplomacy. What does it mean? Cultural diplomacy, it is an irrevocable, it's part of soft power. Some people do not like the soft terminology, soft power, they call it smart power, but still it is this power that helps exchanging ideas, information, art forms, and other components of culture. And we need all of this to improve joint understanding between societies and states. Cultural diplomacy helps to change the attitude. If in a nutshell, then I will try to show you in one sentence how cultural diplomacy is working. Cultural diplomacy is needed to change perception of Ukraine, to improve perception of Ukraine in some other countries or environments, and to build the trust. The trust, as we all understand, is converted more often than not into bigger support, bigger help, bigger aid, bigger understanding of our country. And that's how cultural diplomacy is in Ukraine as a part of state program finally. What tasks do we have? What are our aims, our goals? Is the deeper understanding of Ukraine, its culture and history among foreigners. It is spreading a quality, true, critical knowledge about Ukraine. It is regaining stolen heritage and stolen culture. What do we mean by the stolen culture? Natalia was talking a lot about how empire appropriates the history of its colonies, how Russian Empire and today Russia keep on making the names of Ukrainian artists their own. Ukrainian scientists, Ukrainian historic figures. So, for example, Kazimir Malevich, Archipenko, Sonia Malone, and others, they are Ukrainian artists. And this regaining of this stolen heritage, this stolen culture is an important element. Decolonization of international perception of Ukraine. This is actually, once again, uh, here I would focus more on decolonization of knowledge about us in various countries of the world, academic, through the change of through the change in academia. We will be talking about this a little bit later as well. And of course, we need to fight against the Russia hybrid war and disinformation. One more important element of developing any kind of cultural diplomacy by the countries, it's value, an element of value. If our values are shared by our partners, then obviously in this way, this trust is much easier to build and to develop. That's why even before the full-scale invasion, I was asked how Ukrainian cultural diplomacy is significantly different from the so-called Russian um, cultural diplomacy, and I was saying that it is this value framework of values. Today, Ukrainian disinformation is fighting against Russian disinformation, but it is not creating its own, and it is an important element for understanding. And we actually, Ukrainian Institute as an institution was created after the Revolution of Dignity. And actually, for 7 years ago, we started our activity in various countries. Such institutions have been working for years, actually. It is British Council in Britain, in Germany, it's Goethe-Institut, in Spain, it's Institute of Cervantes, and so on and so forth. So institutions that develop strategies and partnerships with other countries and with other societies. And as of now, we are members of several networks, such as Global Network of Public Diplomacy, GWNet, and unique, these are networks of National Institute of Culture and countries of the European Union. Actually, if to look at the activity For the last 5 years, you will see here that 520 projects and events are conducted in 28 countries of the world. So we have pretty big coverage, and 80 countries, these are countries that also were covered by our online campaigns, online products. Geography, you can see that it is pretty wide. Today, in our Ukrainian Institute in the headquarters and the main office, it is located in Kyiv. We also have two representatives, two branches in Germany and in French. In 2023, we opened one branch in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So this year we got it, and I hope that next year we will have once again a wider reach, wider coverage. But it does not mean that only in these countries we work. This is our target countries. We have pool of our key priority countries that we define together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. We are part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, but we are building our own agenda. We are developing our own agenda, our own like, action plan. But we agreed with the supervisory board and with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. And if to talk about directions of our activity, we have art, cinemas, literature, music, interdisciplinary programs that can combine various directions, various disciplines. When, for example, theater can be combined with the topic of human rights, or, for example, these are such big forums and conferences. And also, it is academic programs and Ukrainian studies, research and analytics, Ukrainian language as a foreign one, communication campaigns, cultural diplomacy as a discipline and specialty, and it is important for us to develop cultural diplomacy directly this understanding in Ukraine as well. That's why we teach a lot in universities. We teach a lot for our diplomats that go with diplomatic missions to this or that country.
And our quite new department is a work with Asia, Africa, and Latin America countries. And this very department we founded at the very of the year as the end of the 2023, and this was the response to full-fledged invasion challenges. And these are the countries who are remote from us, but the one that are impacting the world agenda and day-to-day agenda, and barely know anything about Ukraine. And if they do, mostly through Russian optics. And now I would love to share with you a little bit of case studies we are working upon in our Ukrainian Institute. The first case is the return of the voice of Ukrainian culture in the world, and that things and the idea that the majority of the world considers as a product of American mass culture, that is what's called Shedrik from Mykola Leontovich, who 100 years ago, in 1922, gave a concert in the Carnegie Hall, in the legendary Carnegie Hall. And 100 years later, in 2021, we, together with our partners, organized a big concert where we perform, obviously, Shedrik, who by that time the world knows as Carol of the Bells song. So this is the turn of the perception, slow but sure. And these kind of big projects become more visible on the radars of different cultural institutions. And that very change and shift of perception we are working upon through this kind of projects. Due to this kind of projects, we can do that. Visually, we obviously are revisioning even Soviet heritage, and we talk about how nowadays we see Ukraine that was under Soviet Union times, We say that despite the fact that the Soviet machine was authoritarian and was doing reprisals against Ukrainian artists, we are using that still gains that was done for Ukrainian culture and for the world culture. And when we talk about culture diplomacy, it is important to say within the context of culture, not only as the art only, but in a much broader sense. That's why for us, what is important is academic component. Academic component is the reinforcement of those voices of Ukraine and Ukrainian scholars in different universities of the world. And this is needed to ensure that there will be, since there are deforming the future elite, cultural, publical artist elite, and they already had a perspective regarding Ukraine through our projects and programs. That is why we have many projects on the support of Ukrainian studios, of say Lesiak Rudnitsky, the online courses about Ukraine, and please share them with anyone. They are in different languages about Ukrainian identity, about Crimea, Crimean Tatars, about the history of Ukrainian civil society. And the last course that we presented this year is about Ukraine and the role of Ukraine in the Second World War. The Global Coalition of Ukrainian Studio, I guess the majority of you have heard about this very initiative. The First Lady and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Ukrainian Institute and Crimean Platform, and the platform of President on Science and Education. That's exactly that fact when many state entities united for the purpose to design and to develop Ukrainian studios and to reinforce those Crimean studios through the creation of this kind of platforms. The same, this very year, literally a month ago, we uh, received the first award for bringing the Crimean Tatar language on the world level, and we do this in order to raise the prestige of teaching Ukrainian language abroad, and again to popularize Ukrainian language and Crimean Tatar language. And what is there in our plans is to continue with the teaching of Ukrainian language on the on the basis of our outlets. When I was talking about those projects that are done in that remote countries, what is important here is to understand the emphasis and the context. And when we started to work in Brazil, we have been thinking a lot upon, say, what is the main topic we should take into our armory, because for them the war and the understanding of war is the understanding of something that is far away from them, because Brazil lives in a peaceful world as the majority of the countries in the world. And then we saw that one of the important topics that touches locals is the topic of ecology, because cutting off the tree lines in Amazonia is one of those key issues in Brazil right now. That is why we took the idea of ecocide, and as a matter of fact, while having created quite an easy project, that is the mural of in São Paulo by Ukrainian and Brazil painters and artists. This all gave this very understanding of a much better Ukrainian context. Because around this very mural, there was a big informational campaign built around, where in the majority of Brazil media, there was a story about that, and as well as about how war right now impacts ecology, Ukraine, Ukrainian land, and how this will impact globally. An important thing I would like to emphasize that this cultural diplomacy is not just bringing somewhere Ukrainian team with a concert or making a tour. Cultural policy that's about that establishing of those long-term bridges and political connections. That is why in those countries that are geographically remote from us and they do not have much knowledge about Ukraine, we take two paths with them. This is the first one, is a collaboration of Ukrainian artists, the actors of culture with foreigner actors. As you can see on this very image, when on the biggest festival in Indonesia, in the Festival of Ballet, there was a duet of Ukrainian Ballroom and Indonesia Belarus. And the second very approach we are working upon is approach that has to do with the inclusion of Ukraine into different key platforms. So to say, in each country there are biggest events. Say, for example, for the literature, this is the book arsenal. And this kind of platforms, we are looking for them in different countries, and we are establishing connections and making sure that Ukrainian voices, as say literally yesterday, there ended the Frankfurt Book Fair in Germany, where Ukrainian Institute got engaged for the preparation of the program, or you can see Yuri Anderhovich with Ukrainian program in Mexico. An important project that Ukrainian Institute launched this year is our pavilion at Venice Architecture Biennale. And again, when we talk about bilanguage of art, and this is the first time when Ukrainian Institute became a commissar of such a biennale. You can even see this very installation. It's called Proof, and it is designed to cause some interest and to pick somebody's interest. It's to give the idea of the actors and creators to show their ideas. That's also one of the tasks of cultural diplomacy. And what I would also love to end with is the season of Ukraine in France, or say the voyage of Ukraine that will start in December this year. These are the dozens of events all over France, cultural, academical, civilian, um, law protection events, where we will be talking about Ukrainian and French connections, and by doing this, to present Ukrainian culture. And also, at the very beginning of the next year, obviously, while not being afraid of working with those complicated topics, we will open, as a matter of fact, the first exhibition of the modern art about Crimea, where we will engage Ukrainian and Crimean Tatar painters and artists with the topic of what it mean when we talk about Crimea, and when we talk, and through the idea of decolonization, we'll try to take a look at this peninsula. Thank you for your attention. Mr. Alim, we are so much thankful for your address and speech. And again, thank you so much for those extremely correct sentences. And I guess as it all our today's participants and viewers would agree that the speakers had quite a very strong statements and messages for you when it comes to inspiration and the guidelines about how to think about your future ideas you will be working upon within Hatathon, and how to create those senses with the help and aid of these digital and cultural projects. So before we officially will announce Hatathon 6.0 open, I would also love to give the floor to Anastasia Slipsova, who is a co-founder of Hatathon. And since we are coming to the finalization of our broadcast, I have literally a couple of questions, if I may ask, to bring Anastasia online. And we have a couple of questions that I think our viewers might be interested in hearing, especially from you, Anastasia, especially when it comes to the idea. How do you think we should build up the perception of participation? We will consider this as such a insider guideline for our participants, for our participants to be able to cover and go through this hackathon altogether. So first one, we have a big amount of different activities. We will have three quite intensive ones. To your mind, what should the participants focus most to receive the top from this experience? Well, first off, this is a work with mentors. Very often, at the very beginning, the new participants of Hatathon underestimate this very component. However, this is the biggest value of it because now we have, if my memory serves me right, approximately 100 mentors. And these are the people with impeccable expertise both in cultural and technological sectors. And there are the specialists on design, communication, and they are doing different donations, they are doing different volunteering activities to help Ukrainian cultural projects to become even cooler. And you will also have some kind of funny mentors with who you will be working all the time. This will be your coaches who will be guiding you through the whole structure of hackathon and through those challenges that the participants will face. And the first one, yes, is my advice would be to get familiarized with the database of all the mentors and choose those mentors to who you definitely need to go because and go with them because the limit time flies. Second moment, I will also cover this one. Do not try to do something perfect at this hackathon when you will be working with a team. Try to make it all fast and test this all fast because nobody's gonna assess the perfectness of the project as it is. Everyone will be mostly looking to what extent you have been processing those problematic moments during hackathon. Because very often the teams get stopped at some big moment and they're trying to smoothen it perfectly, and later on they find out that there is no time. There is this kind of moment of frustration going after. So hackathon is what we call a sprint in the technological world, when something changes so fast, when one needs to do a startup from all the measures and all the means that are at hand to make this very prototype and to pitch it. And then after hackathon, to make it perfect. Okay, thank you. And perhaps what I will give for myself, including the work with mentors, please do not focus only on the critical feedback. Even if somebody tells you that something might not work or something doesn't look the way it is supposed to look, please take this as a possibility to become better. Do not focus on protecting it or to proving everyone around that this mentor is wrong. Take this as an external thought that you didn't have before. And again, this is a possibility not only to do the networking, but also to look at how people perceive that very information that you are packing in your project. Thank you. Thank you, Anastasia. I honestly am thankful to all our viewers. So, dear friends, at this very note, I'd like to thank all our speakers, partners, teams, and obviously those participants who are either watching us right now or will watch us later on in the recording. And I would also love to announce the Hatathon 6.0 officially open. And what lies ahead of us is an impeccable journey. We definitely promise you that. Do not be afraid of experimenting. Do not be afraid of co-creating. Do not be afraid of fraternizing. We will be next to you to help you. And again, I would like to say that the registration form is still open. If at some point the members of your team did not have a chance to join, this is a high time to do that because tomorrow at 3 p.m. by Kyiv time, we will start our first educational day where we will see workshops, different cases. Please read us all in the Slack community, and I wish you good luck.